last week. But Baker Mayfield, he had 21 straight completions and led Cleveland to a comeback win after the injury, sparking the question if Baker was better without Odell. Well, Baker said yesterday the theory was, quote, completely insensitive, close quote. But his passer rating, it is higher since last year when Beckham is not playing. So, Marcellus, I got to ask you the insensitive question. Is Baker Mayfield better off without Odell?
No, he's not better off. And if he is, that's an indictment on who Baker Mayfield is in terms of a leader and in terms of his mentality. I'll get into that. Let's see. We walk around in a world today where people will lie to your face and you will accept it. Someone will walk up to you and say, you know what in life? More is less sometimes. No, it ain't. More is more. Every time you got more of something, you got more of it. Now, if you want to say, if you give me too much, I don't know how to handle it, say that.
I like that.
Baker Mayfield.
I like that.
If you can't handle having OBJ and all that greatness in the building, just say that.
I like that.
Because, you know, we talk about Tom Brady a lot because he's the GOAT. He's going to be what we look at as gold standard. Tom Brady, 28 touchdowns. He could never climb over that in his first 7 years, no matter who you had at receiver. Tom Brady's like, look, there's some limitations here. And then they said, let's give him Randy Moss. Do you know what he did that year?
What'd he do?
50 touchdowns. Damn near doubled up on him. Hold on. You know why? Because he's like, if you give me that, I'm going to give you more. How is now that formula going to flip on his head? And Baker Mayfield's going to try to make it seem like, well, if you give me less, I can give you more. You know what this is really about?
What's up, bro?
A team that knows that they don't have the quarterback that they desire. A team that knows their best way of going forward, and Baker Mayfield knows it, is actually to hand the ball off, to exploit them in the running game. That's why this team is third in rushing, but 27th in passing. 27th in passing when you have Odell. But now you're going to say you're going to lose your best receiver, the greatest talent that you have, and then we're going to get better? Nah, it's an indictment on his mindset, and it's an indictment on this scheme, not trusting Baker Mayfield.
I rock with a lot of what you said. I'm not even going to be crazy argumentative this block. I know sometimes y'all like when I clown my dog, but I respect my dog. Marcellus, though, there's a chance that Baker Mayfield's better without Odell, and let's not act like that is some sort of far-fetched theory. Let's also not act like we haven't seen that before.
I'm listening.
The Packers, they're 6-0 over the last 2 seasons when they play without Davante Adams. Now, Davante Adams is amazing, top 3 receiver in the National Football League. Not an indictment on Davante Adams. It's not an indictment on the Packers. All I'm doing is presenting the data. Please don't kill the messenger. 6-0 the Packers are without Davante Adams. Drew Brees, 3.4 air yards with Michael Thomas on the field week 1. Last 3 games, 6.4 air yards per completion. Not an indictment on Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas, a phenomenal receiver.
Right.
But Drew Brees, the last 3 games, you could argue he has been better than he was with Michael Thomas on the field early on. Let's talk basketball because I think you can see some similarities across sports. Kyrie Irving, a top-tier point guard. Maybe the best, depending on who you ask. They'll put Steph, they'll put Harden, depending on what you tickle, whatever tickles your fancy. But the Celtics were better without Kyrie on the floor than they were with him. They were better when he didn't play. The Brooklyn Nets this past season, better without Kyrie than they were with him. I'm not saying Kyrie's not a great player.
I know you're not.
What I'm simply saying is some teams perform better for whatever reason when their star player is not there because they have to pay so much attention to the star player. Let me talk to you and end my first block in analogy form. Something that you, the viewer, can understand and something my big dog can understand. You know, I got to track my cameras.
My dog.
Marcellus, if you were watching a game with your boys, what up, my dog? What up, my dog?
I ain't in my 20s no more.
Whatever. Say you watching a game with your boys. Say y'all watching a game with your girls, watching whatever it is you may watch with your girls. I'm not going to discriminate. I'm not a sexist. Watching whatever you watch with your girls, with your boys. But then your significant other shows up.
My wife.
And all of a sudden, Sal, you can't pay attention to your boys as much. You good, whatever, because you got to cater to the person who demands more respect. Hey, honey, can I get you anything? You want some water? The food trays right there. I got to cater to you. So all of a sudden, I don't have the same relationship with everybody else in the room because I have to cater to the person who has demanded respect. Baker Mayfield has to cater to Odell Beckham, the person who demands respect. Because of that, all his other relationships on the field, they suffer. Odell, can I get you anything? 7 targets out of my next 10 throws. Odell, can I get you anything? Odell, you want to run a post route? Odell, can I get you anything? Oh, you want to hit him with that corner post? Odell, can I get you anything? And because of that, it has shown statistically, I'm just a messenger. It's shown statistically that Baker performs better.
I like a lot of that. Here's the problem. 6-0 you were talking about when Aaron Rodgers doesn't have Davante Adams. But we got to dive a little deeper because wins is not the only column in terms of statistics. Absolutely. But we're not going to bore you guys with that. I want to talk about the mentality of why even that may be true. Because when my wife shows up and if my boys are there, guess what? It's a level playing field. You know I love you, baby, and these my boys. I don't love them the same, but guess what? They're going to get some love too, and we're going to spread this out with equity. It's not going to be like, oh, what you say, homeboy? What you say, homeboy? Like, I'm not doing that. And it seems like Baker Mayfield is a back against the wall type of dude. Baker Mayfield is one of those guys who he gains in loss. Like, he's the one that, like, take it all away from me, and then I'll show you. But I don't like people like that because there are a lot of people in this world that suffer a fear of failure. But there's also some people who suffer from fear of success. So it's not about how low can I go. It's about how high can you go. Baker Mayfield reminds me of some people I grew up with who always wanted to turn it on once they got to a lower point. Listen to this. If you're Baker Mayfield, why did you comment differently than your own coach in response to this same injury to OBJ? What did coach say? I reject that. Odell's a great, great player. We're going to miss him, blah, blah, blah. I feel sick. What did Baker Mayfield do when they asked him about the OBJ loss? I think this is a bad time to bring that up. That's insensitive. Why is it a bad time? If you got his back fully and you're going to truly miss him, wouldn't you just answer it and dead it? Or you don't want to answer it because what your answer truly is going to be something that exposes who you really are, which is, I need to be in a situation with less oxygen. I need to be the man. I need to be, I'm a front runner mentality. I don't like them kind of dudes because they can't lead us as far as we should go.
I respect it.
All right. Got to bring in our boy, Greg Jennings right now, Fox NFL analyst. I'm covering for you right now, Acho. You see this. Greg, is Baker better off without Odell? This dude dropped the baton.
You know what? I'm with you, Acho. In this particular instance, he is better. And Marcellus, I get 100% of where you're coming from. You know, people say more, less is more. In this instance, less is more because he doesn't know how to handle the more. And when you don't know how to handle the more, you have to simplify things. When even Kevin Stefanski looks at the call sheet, right now, he's trying to call plays to where he's catering and tailoring. How can we get Odell involved? Well, you can't do that and call plays that are best effective for everyone involved if you're trying to tailor to one individual and they gather or they need more attention. They garner more attention. What Baker Mayfield has shown, and the stats just don't lie in this lane here. Okay. He has proven that he is better, more efficient. His touchdown to interception ratio is better. His completion percentage is higher. All the numbers align that, you know what? I just don't have that added stress. I don't have that added pressure of needing to get him the ball or force Odell Beckham the ball. And this is not an indictment on Odell. We know what he brings to the table. We've seen it in full manifestation. We know who you are, Odell. This is not on you. This is on a quarterback who hasn't proven that he can operate with more.
Hey, G, let me ask you this, because I agree with my dog Marcellus wholeheartedly when he read into Baker Mayfield's answering of the question. I did the exact same thing, bro. I think you onto something. Like, wait, why didn't you just answer the question? Greg, let me ask you. Do you read into the fact that Baker didn't deny what was being said? He just instantly went to, you know, that's too insensitive. That's insensitive. He dodged the question. Come on, bro. Do you read into that, into the fact of Baker admitting, hey, y'all right, I am better without Odell?
I try not to read into it, but it's hard not to when it's kind of what he's shown us. When, like you said, Marcellus, when his back's against the wall, when he's not in that front runner mentality, or up there and it's expected to be great because of all that he has, but he's now expected to elevate everybody else because, oh, we don't have as much. Can Baker be great? Yes, because the pressure is kind of reversed, if you will. And when you look at the answer and the response of Kevin Stefanski, the coach, I reject that statement. And Baker, you know what? The time, it's insensitive. No, if I'm Odell and I just got hurt, off an interception that you threw because you underthrew me.
Bang, bang.
I'm listening to that like, what you mean? No, I need to know right now. I need to hear this response. As a receiver on your team that's been in your huddle, I need to know that you got me and that you really need me out there. Otherwise, I'm feeling like everybody else. I don't know if he really need me.
Yo, that's real. Now, look. They don't pay me to come on the show and lie to y'all, so I got to look at both sides of the coin. A coin does have two sides. I do think there is selection bias. Acho, what the heck is selection bias? What you talking about?
Let's do it.
When we talked about CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, all the thing that's going on with the brain right now, everybody was like, well, look at how many brains they test and how much time CTE shows up. Well, you got to remember, there's selection bias. The brains that are being tested, there's an inclination that CTE may be in them. That's why they're testing them. Baker Mayfield and his percentage and his completion percentage with Odell Beckham when he's not targeting him. Remember, there's selection bias. Odell Beckham's being double teamed. Odell Beckham is getting third down double team coverage, first down double team coverage. He's getting roll coverage. So obviously your passer rating when you target the guy who was double teamed is going to be worse than your passer rating when you target the guy who was single covered or who they're not paying any attention to at all. So when you do look at the stats, and for those of y'all looking at the stats, seeing them on Twitter, hearing us talk to you about them, you also have to keep in mind there's selection bias. So I don't know if Baker statistically will truly be better without Odell Beckham until we see it going forward, because there are two sides of the coin. Just because he's been better thus far without Odell does not mean he'll continue to be better without Odell.
I like it. I like it. Y'all coming around to where I am. And look, I'm not talking about what he's done in terms of the stats right now. I'm not talking about what he's done in terms of percentages. I'm talking about how far you can go with this guy once this becomes a reality. OBJ is out the building, and now he has to work with less. This isn't a complete indictment on Baker Mayfield. You can't depend fully on Baker Mayfield. Oh, when we count you out, Baker Mayfield, is when we can count on you.